We want to talk about Text 21, which was created some 12 years ago, and we want to talk about what they're interested in right now and what's going to, I think, affect everybody sitting in this room, and that's the Panama Canal. Now, if you think about, a lot of you've been there, so you know what it looks like. Well, they're digging a new channel through there that's supposed to open in 2014. Right now, the bulk of the importing and the exporting hits the west coast because they have the deep ports. And this new channel is going to come in here and open up the Gulf Coast and the East Coast. Now, just for review, and y'all may all know this, you realize that the French were the ones who finally decided they could dig this ditch across Panama, and they started prior to 1900, and the figure that I have here says they spent $287 million in the 1890s. I don't know what that is equivalent to today, but it's a bunch of money, and they managed to kill 22,000 people trying to build it. Well, they gave up, filed for bankruptcy, and then came along Theodore Roosevelt, who took this thing up, signed a treaty, and on May the 4th, 1904, they started construction, and they finished it in 1914. So we're not quite to the 100th anniversary of the opening, but we're getting pretty close. It is the year that we're supposed to open up this new channel through there. 1977, President Carter signed a treaty with Panama, and full control of the canal was given to Panama on December 31st, 1999. Have you ever thought about how they pay for ships to go through there? I never thought about it. The guy heard talk about it, said, well, nowadays, of course, all electronic and everything, they get their money before they ever hit there. But he said in the old days, that wasn't the case, and they didn't trust anybody. The ship came up there, he said, there's a guy came to the side of the ship with a bag, threw it over the back, he was full of money. Okay, come on through. And that's how they handle it. Today it services about 35 or 40 vessels a day. And nowadays, 75% of the world's cargo and their container ships are too large to go through the Panama Canal. So Panama decided to build a new channel. The citizens of Panama approved a $5.25 billion bond referendum in 06, and they broke ground in 07 to expand the canal. You might ask why can't they just dump it off on the west coast like they're doing now? Well, let me give you these figures. And as a general rule of thumb, it costs 10 cents a mile to ship a container by water on a ship. It costs a little over $2 a mile to ship that same container on a truck. Excuse me, on rail. And on a truck it's more than $4 a mile. So there's a dramatic difference in cost per mile if you go by water. Now, for the Panama Canal, everything is, I had to learn this term, it's called TEUs, 20-foot equivalent, which is the size of these containers that they use. And the ships that fit through there right now are called Panamax ships. I'm about to number 20 if we can get to there. Okay.
I can't believe we're together.
We haven't done this, so it's
we haven't practiced.
This is an experiment. I may get Daffy Duck up here in the next. The first giant container ship in 1988 was launched. Like I say, all these vessels now go to the west coast because that's where the deep ports are. Yeah, they can go around South America. And there's a couple of ports on the east side that they can get in, but a lot of those are military, so they're not able to just use it for civilian freight. And we go to 22. So what about the locks? Currently, you can see the smaller one there They're 1,000 feet long, 110 feet wide, and 42 feet deep. The new ones are 1,400 feet long, 180 feet wide, and 60 feet deep. Now, to give you a comparison, we go to the Texas State Capitol, which you should be familiar with. If you've been there, you've got an idea of the size of that building. Here we go. We're going to try this.
Here he goes.
That's what a container ship looks like compared to the state capitol. So, gives you an idea of the size of these ships. Are we ready to receive them on the Texas coast or anywhere on the Gulf Coast? And the answer is no. We've got lots of ports on the Gulf Coast. They range from middle 30-foot depths to nothing deeper than 50 feet, and I think that's the Houston ship channel, is 50 feet.
And how deep was the mega ship? What's the depth of the mega ship?
No, depth of the ship channel. How deep are they? I think they like to have 52 feet minimum, but they'd rather have 55 or 60 before they'll pull in.
And the Houston one is 50?
In Houston, I think it's 50, so they're trying to scramble to get that made deep enough. The problem is it's not just the depth of the channel. They don't have anything in Houston, which is probably the biggest port, to offload them, because the cranes won't even reach all the way across the ship. So they've got to build something new there to be able to do that. But you can imagine looking at all these ports, and it's not just going to be Texas. I mean, Louisiana's going to get it. Some of the Florida ports are going to get it. So why would they want to come into to this part of the world rather than go in where they're going now? Because we're in the central United States, and you can fan everything out cheaper per dollar of transportation miles. And the railroads, as you might suspect, just really don't like this idea too much, because they get to train it all the way across the United States right now. So they've even battled it at times, and I guess to some degree still are. Now to talk a little bit here about what you do once you get it to port. You know, they've got to go get these containers away from port, carry it somewhere. They really just got two choices. They can put it on a truck, or put it on a train. And these rail cars, generally speaking, are double stacked, so they got two of them on it. And so they commonly, a train fully loaded carries about 400 of them. And that's a mile-long train. And what do you think the size is? How long a train would it take to offload one ship? Anybody got a guess?
2 miles.
It takes 35 trains, or 35 miles long, to offload one ship.
The new size ship.
Right.
That's what I was going to say.
Now, don't you think that'd make somebody in Houston who's trying to get to work mad at one of those grade crossings? You got a 35-mile. Well, obviously they can't do that, but that's just part of the problem. But that's to give you an idea kind of the problems that are up against. And so it's going to be a monumental problem. One of the things we talked to the Director of Transportation about was the Port of Beaumont and Highway 287. The mayor and I both said to the director that, you know, Highway 287 in the state of Texas is one heck of a good highway, as long as you're north of Corsicana. Because you can travel those next 400 miles. It's 2-lane divided, surface is good, and you can move. But when you cross and hit the first pine tree, it's like you're some kind of stepchild.